And concluding with Mark, condensing, this is the 7th, where he sees the fig roots, gives the mountain moving advice, and we know that it's the 7th. The 6th, the day before, we know it's a lock. And when even was come, he went out of the city, and in the morning. It's another day right up to here. This will be the 6th. Where's my papers? That's the 6th. The shade leaves, the disciples heard it. And remember, this matches up with Matthew. The disciples heard it. On the 7th, the disciples saw it dried up by the roots. Again, on the 7th, don't forget, let's mention Mary right now. Preaching this gospel, we got to mention her every time. Forgive my hand. Now, on these two, you guys can do your own thing on this, but I'm telling you, it's going to be there's 2 days here. And Jesus entered into Jerusalem and looked around, and when he had looked around all things, and now the eventide was come, that's a different day. Okay? And on the morrow, so they're actually skipping a day. They're skipping the 5th. You want to count that as the 6th and then back this up to the 4th. That's perfectly fine. But you're not going to have the whole point of him getting this donkey that never man sat, Mark and Luke, is that it's on a Sabbath. The 3rd is the Sabbath. I'm just saying you can make this the 6th and then the 4th, but to be very technical, and it should be completely true. When eventide was coming, he went out on Bethany with the 12. That's a different day. Anything after that is going to be a different day. And the thing that happens after that is they say on the morrow. So you're actually skipping a day. I'm just saying there's the 5th. Jerusalem, he looked around where we're at. Blessed is the King. And Jesus entered into Jerusalem. That's your 4th. Okay. Goes into Jerusalem, looks around at everything. And when eventide was come, that's why I'm saying the 5th is going to be an on the morrow. That makes this the 3rd, when he has a triumphal entry into Bethphage. Why Bethphage, Mike? Because when they came nigh to Jerusalem, unto Bethphage, he's at Bethphage, but he's going unto Bethphage. But on the way, he's going to at Bethany at the Mount of Olives. He sent 2 of his disciples, saying, "Go into the village against you." He's going to Bethphage, but he's sending his disciples over somewhere near Bethany to get this colt that's never been rid. And like I say, if you want to make this on the 7th, what do I do with my paperwork? I'm trying to condense this for y'all and I'm jacking it all up. If you want to make this, the 7th is a lock, the 6th is a lock. If you want, and then if you want to make this the 5th, that's perfectly fine. And then this will end up being the 4th. But I'm telling you, it's the 3rd. It's that he's coming from Jericho. He's nigh to Jerusalem, unto Bethphage and Bethany at the Mount of Olives. See how you can read that a different way? Also, there's no prophecy. Those that went before and be after said, "Hosanna, blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed be the kingdom of our father David that cometh in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest." This is the 3rd. And this is how we end up. The 7th, the 6th, the 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd. We got a clue on what's going on every day. Let's take a look at Lukey boy. Remember, he read exactly the same. Exactly the same. And they put the garments on the colt. Set Jesus thereon. As he went, they spread their clothes. They all agree up to that point. But here's a little problem. When he come nigh, even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives. If Lukey boy coincide with Mark on the 3rd about loosing the colt and bringing their garments and spread them in the way. Really, the next action is going to be the Bethany triumphal entry. Luke promised a chronological reading. And when he was come nigh, even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives, to Bethany, for the Bethany triumphal entry, that Matt records on the 5th. He had been to, remember Matthew says he had been to Bethphage. Okay, so this is the 5th. Descent to the Bethany for his triumphal entry. He goes into Jerusalem on that same day, weeping before. And Luke, let's read it. Spread their clothes. And when he was come nigh, and this is a different day, 2 days later, on the 5th, and when he's come nigh at the descent of the Mount of Olives for his Bethany triumphal entry, some of the Pharisees in Bethany, because they were given a thing, and if you saw him, you're supposed to tell where he is. Oh, these Pharisees call him Master. Okay, whatever. They say they saw what they had done. He said, hold their peace. And he says, if you don't, the stones are going to cry out. This is your Joshua stones of when he crossed over the Jordan that bore witness that Jesus would be coming. He says, if they shut up, the stones would cry out. Those are the witnesses. Okay? This is telling his Bethany triumphal entry. And he wept over it. After his Bethany triumphal entry, he's coming into the city, and he's weeping over it. And he's saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. Just like Zephaniah, God is hid. He's walking amongst you, and he's hid. For the day shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round about. He's talking about 68 A.D., and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay even with the ground, and even thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another. This is the first assertion to not one stone upon another. He's talking about the end of days, he's talking about 68 A.D., because in his red letters of Jesus talking, where Matthew and Mark speak of the end of days, he is speaking of 68 A.D., Either way, it's still the 7th. They come to him and ask him what authority. If that's the 7th, we need to figure out when these days are. This was the 5th we saw with the descent going to the Bethany triumphal entry. And we skipped a day because Mark records he went to Jerusalem for a day trip on the 4th. But these exact words happened on the 3rd. Mark and Luke have the exact opening words from Jericho, except he's ascending to Jerusalem. That's funny, he's ascending to Jerusalem, but on the descent of the Mount of Olives. See how that works? Coming from Jericho, ascending to Jerusalem, nigh to Bethphage and Bethany. At the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 disciples. You want to read that again? That way you get a Bethphage triumphal entry. And it came to pass when he was come nigh to... Okay, first of all, he's ascending to Jerusalem, so he's not in Jerusalem. And it came to pass when he was come nigh to Bethphage and Bethany. Okay, he's not in Jerusalem. He's close to Bethphage and Bethany. Period. At the mount called the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples, saying, go into the village over against you. And he has a Bethphage triumphal entry. He goes, Bethphage, Jerusalem is in between. So he goes to Jerusalem on his way to Bethany from Bethphage. He goes to Jerusalem for a day trip to spy it out. Doesn't cast out anybody, just looks around. Ends up in Bethany with Bethany's triumphal entry on the 5th. And on the 5th, he goes into the temple and starts to cast them out. And then Luke just kind of, so I put it, and he said it's a den of thieves, so that we know that that also aligns with Matthew and Mark, because it then says that he taught a den of thieves. saying unto them. Yeah, two of them say saying, and one of them says taught. It's a different day, the den of thieves. And he taught daily in the temple. It's a reference right there. And the chief priests and scribes came to destroy him, and he could not find what they might do, for all the people were attentive to hear him. And it came to pass, and on one of those days, see how it kind of jumps out of chronology here? But that's perfectly fine. On one of these days, they come to him saying, what authority? And then he gives his speech, and we know that that's the 7th. Amen to all that. Getting short. Oh, let me get rid of all this stuff here, and we'll shorten up Lukey boy as well. Luke comes in on the 3rd. Skips a day. Picks it up on the 5th. And then starts talking about on the 7th. Oh, where's my 7th? With the red letters. See how this is all going down? We got a different day. Something happening different day. And this is where we come up with the final product. This here is where Jesus is talking in red, and we know it's the end of the 7th. The Aviv 7 is coming to an end. Jesus is talking after 2 days is going to be the 10th. On the 10th it says it's that day. Where should we go to prepare for the Passover? And then that night, a different day, is the Last Supper. That's what we're leading up to. Oops, sorry about that.